My wife slept with men from bar and said she deserved it for having a baby. So I returned the favor and gave her what she deserved. I, 32 male, married my wife, Janet, 26 female, 3 years ago. We have a 7-month-old daughter. A couple of days back, I found something in her bag which blew my mind. It was a pack of condoms. I'm not the kind of guy who checks his wife's bag, but this time it was urgent. My wife was in the shower and I needed a diaper to change my baby. I had put the baby at the changing table, and then I realized we had to run short of one. I remember my wife keeps a few diapers in her bag when she takes the baby for a walk. Her bag was lying near the baby counter. Easier for me to grab it. I opened it and found 2 diapers inside it. While pulling it out, something came out of the bag and fell on the floor. Pack of condoms. It was a pack of 3. The pack was open, and it had just 1 left. I checked the bag if the remaining 2 had fallen inside, but it was not there. Meant that 2 were already used. My baby was crying profusely, so I kept the condom inside my pocket and changed my baby. When she came out of the shower, I put the baby in the crib and pulled out the condom from my pocket and asked Janet about this. The actor and her came out, and she outrightly denied it. She said it wasn't hers. She tried to gaslight this situation and pin it on me. I was shocked at how she could lie so smoothly. I said I found it in her bag. She replied, "But you just now pulled it from your pocket, right?" I flipped out at her because she was not ready to accept it was hers. She then burst out in laughter and said, "Oh, poor you. Look at your puppy face. I was messing up with you. Yeah, the condom is mine. I bought it for us." She winked as she said this. It was evident that she was lying because we don't use protection. She's breastfeeding and her cycle is yet to be back, so we don't use protection now. She dismissed me and said her cycle is back to normal, so we might need protection if we don't want to have back-to-back kids. I asked her what happened to the 2 of them. There's just 1 inside the packet. It should have been 3. She laughed and said it was a funny story. Yesterday, she brought it, and then she went out with friends. A guy was hitting on her friend Kyle. Things got heated up between them and they went to seek a corner, but they didn't have a condom, so she lent 2 units to them. I gave her a look of disbelief. I said, "You want me to believe this?" She said yes, because that's the only truth. She said I can call Kyle and ask for myself. I didn't call her because if Janet is lying, then Kyle is obviously on board with her and she's going to lie too. So what's the point? I didn't call her, but I told Janet that I'm not buying her crap, so she needs to come clean to whatever she has been up to. Now she's gaslighting me and trying to guilt-trip me that I don't trust her. She's weeping that I don't understand her. But she has just delivered a baby and is going through postpartum depression, and amidst this, I was accusing her of cheating. I've not tried to make things up with her. I've left it that way, but she has made the environment murky. She's just curling up inside the bed in the dark room. She's refusing to switch on the lights, saying she doesn't like the brightness. She's not eating at all. I'm not sure how she is when I'm not home, but this is what she has been doing after the confrontation. I'm the one who usually apologizes right after her fights because, hardly any woman breaks the ice and says sorry first. However, this time I just don't feel like apologizing at all. I don't think I've done anything wrong by asking her up front about the condoms. Do you guys think I could have done anything differently? Update 1. Thank you for engaging in my post. You guys were right in saying that she flashed the red flag right across my face. Yes, she did, and I didn't let it slide. Some of you asked for more information about Janet to comment on the situation. Well, Janet and I have known each other for over 6 years. We met at a friend's party. She was the most gorgeous woman out there. We spent the evening together, talking, dancing, and having fun, but I forgot to ask her for our number. I'm not a party person, but it was my friend's promotion party, and he insisted I attend. I asked my friend about Janet, and he said he didn't know her either. She was his colleague's friend. I requested my friend to ask his colleagues for Janet's number. He was reluctant to do so because my friend was married, and he didn't want his colleagues to think that he was hitting on Janet. After a lot of convincing, he got her number. I kept it for a week before texting her. I didn't know how she would take this to be. I didn't want to come across as desperate or cheap. I mean, she was gorgeous, and I'm sure there were many men at the party who wanted her number. Nonetheless, I must read the courage and messaged her. Luckily, she replied that she regretted not asking for my number. From there on, we hit it off. She was working a part-time job. She said she didn't have a full-time job because it involves a lot of commitment and she likes to live freely on her terms. Could have been a red flag, but I didn't think of it in that way. I was immersed deeply in my work, and I was not liking it that way. I wanted to be free like her, so it kind of clicked for me. After dating for 2 years, I proposed to her, and we got married in a close ceremony with friends and family. Janet didn't want to waste money on a grand wedding. She wanted to use that money for vacation instead. After the wedding, we went on a 15-day trip to Europe. 1.5 years after the marriage, Janet got pregnant. She freaked out because we didn't plan it that way. We wanted to travel the world together and do a bunch of stuff before having a baby. She wanted to get rid of it. I was not happy with her decision. I loved kids and I wanted one. But since she had different plans, pregnancy journey is tough and cranky for women, and since I was the one who convinced her into this, I had to face the brunt of it. I did everything to keep her happy. Thankfully, her pregnancy was without any complications, yet she threw tantrums and I happily took it because, it was her time. After the baby came, she became worse. I thought it was because of the lack of sleep and tiredness, nursing the baby. She got so depressed that she was caged now, and that she could not have her former freedom. I took her for therapy, and the doctor said it was postpartum depression, and it was natural for all women post-delivery. I tried everything to give her the freedom she needed. I hired a full-time nanny so that she could have free time to herself. Our daughter was 2 months old, and since then, Janet has resumed her life of partying and going out with her friends, as she used to do it earlier. I never stopped her because the doctor said, "Happy mom will nurture her baby." 7 months later, here we are. I found a condo inside her bag, and she is throwing her best friend under the bus to save her pretty butt. Coming to the updates. As I mentioned earlier, Janet was trying to gaslight the situation, but I didn't give in. If she thinks she could put up an act and would get away with her actions, then she's wrong. I'm not going to let go of this until she tells me the truth because what she said earlier is pure BS. Since she was not opening up, I started digging out myself. I wanted to check her phone, but she's so guarded about it that I could never access it. Even when she would sleep, she would keep it next to her or under her pillow. She had always been like that with her phone, so I never questioned her. Directly asking her to show her phone was also not an option. She would again make a hue and cry about it that I was doubting her and blah blah. I don't know how else to get the evidence because this woman has no conscience and she's not going to confess. Any suggestion is greatly welcomed. Update 2. Thanks for the advice. As most of you suggested, I was about to hire a PI on her, but before that, I found a way myself. One Sunday, I just thought of stalking her social media account. I couldn't find anything from a public view, but her picture with her best friend, Kyle, caught my eye. I saw Kyle's profile and got to know she was married and had a toddler. The other day, Janet said that Kyle was making out with a guy at a bar and she needed the condom. I was like, wait a minute, does her husband know about all this? I went to Janet and said, hey, I'm sorry that I doubted you for the condom thing. I trust you. If you said it was Kyle, it should be her. She smiled at me. I asked her if Kyle does this always. She said yes and started listening down some of the incidents where Kyle made moves at the men in the bar. I didn't know how true it was, or if she was just making it up to cover for herself. After listening to her supposedly funny incidents about Kyle, I dropped the bombshell. I said, well, that's funny. By the way, isn't Kyle married and has a toddler? Are you guys supporting her in her cheating? Does her husband know about all this? She froze like an iceberg and then started ranting. No, that's not what I meant. It's just healthy flirting and nothing else. I intervened. But you just shared so many stories of her picking men from the bar. And why would she need a condom for healthy flirting? She said, oh, did I say Kyle? I'm bad. I'm a good pregnancy brain. I'm in Kiera, my single friend. She's the one who's goofing around. Kyle is a sober one. She doesn't do all that stuff. I was in awe. How swiftly this woman can make stories. I laughed and said, I caught you. You don't have to save Kyle's butt. Are you worried that I would tell Kyle's husband about the truth? She said, yes, please don't do that. Her marriage would be unruined. They have a baby. Please. She loves her husband dearly. It was just meaningless sex and nothing more. I looked at her with a smile. I knew she was speaking for herself and not Kyle. Everything she told about Kyle was actually Janet's, but she won't confess so easily. I told her that I was not feeling good about Kyle cheating on her husband, so I'm going to tell her husband everything. Janet screamed at me that, why was I acting like a saint? Who am I to do the moral policing here and blah, blah, blah? I said, I'm not listening to anything. I'm going to tell Kyle's husband about everything. She mellowed down and started sobbing. I got the vibe that she was about to confess, but I was not ready for it yet. I stormed inside my room and locked it. I didn't want her to get away with her infidelity by just confessing. I wanted my revenge. This cheating is not only going to cost her the marriage, but also her friendship. I texted Kyle on Instagram. I told her that Janet had told me about her dirty little secret. She was aghast. I sent her the recordings where Janet was ranting stories about Kyle's affair. Kyle left me on scene, but I heard Janet's phone ringing. A few moments later, Janet was banging at the door, crying and yelling, "Why are you doing this to me? Open the door. Why are you destroying everything? Why can't you trust me?" Probably she was still on a call with Kyle because she yelled, "He's not opening the door. God knows what he's up to." Then Kyle called me. She asked me to listen to Janet. I said I was not going to listen to anyone, and the next thing I'm going to do is send them the recording to her husband. She freaked out. She pleaded that I don't do anything before listening to Janet. I said I'm going to call her husband, and then we both can listen to all the stories together. She blurted out that whatever Janet said was not Kyle's story but Janet's, and she had been cheating on me for over 4 months. I asked her why did she not stop her friend? Kyle said she and the other girls did try to knock sense to her, but Janet would argue that she gave me a beautiful baby, so she deserved this little pleasure. Fair enough. I was convinced that Kyle was speaking the truth, but God feeling hinted at this truth long before up. But I wanted to cut all the support system for Janet. I asked Kyle to come over along with her husband. I don't know if I went too far, but I wanted Kyle's husband to know what a piece of crap is Janet and that he should keep Kyle away from her. Kyle agreed to come, but she requested me not to show the recording to her husband because Janet was so good at her storytelling that anyone would believe it to be true. She didn't want her husband to doubt her unnecessarily. I said done. Kyle was at my house within an hour. I was locked inside my room until she arrived. The moment she came, heard Janet shouting at her, "Why are you here? I told you I'll manage. Now go away. I'm going to deal with this." I came out while Kyle was yelling at Janet for falsely framing her. It was just too much chaos with both of them screaming at each other. Kyle's husband intervened and asked Janet to tell her side of the story. Kyle gave Janet the look of don't dare lie. Janet sobbed and confessed everything. She accepted that whatever incident she told me that day was not about Kyle. It was all hers. She had been picking up men from the bar and sleeping with them. Kyle's husband was shocked that Janet was such a witch. She was cheating and then making her friend the scapegoat to get away with her cheating. He yelled at Kyle, "This is the kind of friend you brood?" She was about to wreck her marriage. After Janet was dealt with the confession, Kyle and her husband stood up and left, and Kyle said, "Don't you ever contact me. I love my husband and my family. You are not worth losing them." Janet held Kyle's hands and started crying, but she shrugged her off and went away. After they left, Janet looked at me and said, "Are you happy now? What did you get by humiliating me in front of my friend and her husband? Is this what men do?" I glared at her and said, "Your woman card is not going to work anymore. You have used all your cards, pregnancy, postpartum, everything. Now I'm going to show you the consequences of your actions. The humiliation you were talking about is just halfway through it. You have more to come. This is not over. You said you deserved to cheat on me because you gave me a baby, right? I'm going to give you what you deserve. Just wait." I took my stuff and went into the other room. I called up my lawyer and discussed my case. I told her to dig out any loopholes in the law and get me full custody of my daughter. He asked me to get all the evidence of Janet's negligence towards the baby, like her drinking and partying habits and her hookups. He said he would make a case around child safety, that it was not safe for a child to live with a mother who brings new men to the house every day. I don't know how promising it is, but I'm definitely up for any fight to have full custody of my little girl. I'm going to protect her from her liar and cheater mother. I'll update it when all this is over. Update 3. Sorry, I had to delete my last update. I had revealed my lawyer's plan for ripping off the custody from Janet. I shouldn't have done that. The day after posting the update, when I met my lawyer, he asked me not to discuss the case with anyone. I told him I posted this on subreddit anonymously. He asked me to delete it ASAP. Now that everything is over, I have reposted it. It is available on my profile page. I'm still not allowed to get into the nitty-gritty of the law, but here's the other details. After the confrontation, I slept in the guest bedroom. I tried to have a minimal encounter with Janet. She would try to come close to me and make me breakfast and dinner, but I shrugged her off. She even made a sorry cake and bought flowers and cards. She thought I would be over it once my anger subsided. She had no clue what was coming on her way. Almost a month later, my lawyer came down to my place with the divorce papers. Janet freaked out. She was terrified when she was served. She looked at me helplessly like, "What are you doing? How could you do this to me?" After the attorney left, I asked her to pack the stuff and leave. She cried and pleaded to give a chance to our marriage for the sake of her baby. She tried to hug me, but I pushed her away. She said she had nowhere to go. I chuckled, "Not my problem anymore. I gave you everything you wanted. Now I'm going to give you what you deserve, and you deserve to be on the streets." She threatened to take away the last penny I had. I said, "Sure, good luck hiring a lawyer. The good ones don't come for free unless you want to open your legs to hire them." She went towards my daughter's nursery, but I blocked her. "Whoa, you're not getting her. She's not living on the streets with you." She broke down that I was ripping her off for her daughter. I said, "You're not interested in being a mother, are you? I'm freeing you from all the responsibility. You can now live the life you wanted." She packed her stuff and left. My lawyer built a strong case to get full custody, like hiring a full-time nanny and taking work from home jobs, etc. But it turned out that Janet was indeed not so keen on keeping her baby. She didn't have a house nor a job, so she didn't fight for custody at all. However, she went bonkers to claim the alimony. I had to pay a certain amount, can't disclose, sorry, to get rid of her. But it was way too low than what she was demanding. And it was completely worth it to get rid of that whore out of my life. Kyle and her husband visited me one day to check on the baby. Kyle apologized to me for not informing me about Janet's hookups. She said she tried to stop Janet from infidelity, but she didn't listen. She was sorry for the baby. Kyle said she was glad I took full custody because Janet was not so involved with the baby and she would not be able to raise the baby properly like I was doing. Kyle told me that Janet would always cry about how fussy and cranky the baby was and so on. She was overplaying her postpartum thing. Kyle's husband informed me that Janet had reached out to them for help, but he had chased her out. Since then, Janet had been shuffling from one friend's couch to another, and her drinking habit had also hit the tower. I said I don't care what she does with her life now. They offered a helping hand with babysitting. I thanked them for their kind gesture, but I don't think I would need them. My parents have moved in with me to help me with the baby. We also have a full-time nanny, so I think the baby is going to be fine. I might let her meet her mother someday, but not now. She was just happy and safe with her dad.